Indiana Hoosiers Live 51. It's Spittoon Week, Brad. We are back. Have to, as Kurt Signetti said, rip off the rearview mirror. It is ahead to Michigan State. We've got a lot of smoke to cover. There was quite a few things that happened in the world of college football and the world of Indiana football this week. But I'll start with the jersey on your chest right now, Brad. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. I made a quick trip to Milwaukee last night and enjoyed a enjoyed's a very strong word there. It's more so just stressed through a gritty 2-1 win over the Brewers. I'm going to be kind of watching as it goes today, but don't worry, I'm locked in on a game preview today. Got a great some good insight on this Michigan State team we're seeing in the big brass spittoon game we got coming up. It's a rivalry week. I said it before, I see Michigan State as our true football rival. I see Purdue more as a basketball rivalry. So this is the real game. In typical sense, this would feel very trappy going into a rivalry game coming off a very big top 5 win in Oregon. Good news that we're at home. But, before we preview the game too much, let's get into some smoke.
Yeah, it's trappy would be the right word for it if we didn't have the literal watchdog for complacency stalking the sidelines. So obviously we'll get into it. But I know I said we're ripping off the rearview mirror. We're looking forward. But Elijah Surratt, we gotta acknowledge some of the guys here as the awards from last week rolled in. Elijah Surratt, East-West Shrine Bowl Offensive Player of the Week. Brandon Wilkin also put up his side-by-side with Jeremiah Smith's stats this year. Not as one's better than the other. Just you have to look at what Elijah Surratt's doing right now and acknowledge that he has played himself into being one of the best receivers in college football. And put himself in an unreal position come next April for the NFL draft. So
we put Biletnikoff finalist expectations on him during the offseason, expecting a big year. Obviously, this podcast is very well known for anticipating at least 11 wins starting around, I think we called that out around April, and rather than, really just kind of tooting our own horn on social media, I think we took the high road, right? We know what we were, what we are, and we just continue to press forward. And Elijah Surratt just, his production has to be noticed, and he's looking in a great spot. For sure, a lock for the Biletnikoff semifinalist, but looks to be in the driver's seat for a finalist and cracking that top 3, which is an amazing accomplishment to get there. The voters will do what they do, right? There's, one guy clearly has a lot more notoriety, a lot more NFL buzz than the other guy. So we'll see what goes down there. But, yeah, we definitely got to start that campaign for Surratt for Biletnikoff. I think that we've been doing Heisman Dozer for a long time. It's time to get the Biletnikoff campaign going for Elijah Surratt. As it feels like he's had, 400-yard games so far this year?
Well, his stats against Fat Boy's in the chat going Bones Jones with a bunch of fire. Fat Boy's been saying Big Ten championship or bust since before the season started. So full credit where credit is due. And I have this written down to go over later, but I don't know who had a better weekend on Twitter, whether it was you or Brian Haynes, but you guys were going basically bar for bar.
Yeah, Brian Haynes was going crazy on
not
Twitter.
You, Brad.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, Elijah Surratt, since Big Ten play has started, 9 for 92, 2 tutties, 7 for 156, 1 tud, 8 for 121, 1 tud. The guy is showing up in the biggest moments.
There was a chart somebody put out today. It was like a working graphic where it was like Indiana wide receiver production through first few weeks, and Cooper and Surratt have Surratt especially just straight up and just separated themselves completely from the pack. And that's something we've seen. The receiver rotation hasn't been as wide as it was last year, but that's something Signetti talked about in his presser. You had guys like Price and Keyshawn Williams and Cross, and you had Coop and Surratt, and you had EJ for a little bit, and you had McCulley for a little bit, and there was a lot of guys there, and now you look at Cooper and Surratt especially, who's separated themselves as legitimate NFL guys and Surratt as what could be a day 1, day 2 pick. Why would you take those guys off the field?
Yeah, a lot of last year was spreading the ball around, spreading the wealth. A lot of games where Rourke completed passes to 8 or 9 receivers. Not seeing that a whole lot getting into Big Ten play. It really is heavy Cooper, heavy Surratt, which makes sense. Get the balls to your best players, right? Sprinkle in a little EJ Williams, get Roman Hemby some action. Then we got Nowakowski. And that's really all we need. I think only 4 guys had catches. I don't think EJ had a catch on in the
EJ went out early, like early. I didn't even notice it. My dad pointed it out when we were watching the game. He was like, who's 7? He just limped off the field. I was like, geez. But yeah, no, 4 guys caught the ball. One of them was Roman Hemby. And yeah, it's a testament to the work that Elijah and Omar did over the offseason to turn themselves into players who can't be taken off the field.
And they're one of the guys that we were really critiquing and challenging them to really improve in the offseason. So seeing that come to fruition was one of the things we needed to see to get to this point that we find ourselves in, and being undefeated after Eugene and being a legitimate national title contender in not just our eyes, but now the eyes of the world, right? And it's a beautiful place to be in.
It is a beautiful place. One of the guys we were definitely not worried about was Aiden Fisher, who was named Big Ten Player of the Week, Defensive Player of the Week by the conference. Although, funny enough, if you want to go by PFF grades, he was the lowest graded linebacker of the 3. All 3 linebackers graded in the top 5 in the country of linebackers.
Unreal. We had faith. That was the one room that we didn't bring any transfers in. We're like, what the hell's going on? And
well, that was the one room that Sig had singled out, saying that he wanted potentially a little bit more depth. And then he had that tongue-in-cheek comment after Hoosiers at Huber, where he was like, DeVries needed a new roster or whatever, so the money got a little tight. But it turns out that no, they didn't. They just didn't want to go get somebody because like those guys are all elite.
Exactly. I mean, and just like talking future thing, obviously Aiden Fisher's driving the boat, right, with that room, the leader of that room, and also the team, obviously being team captain 2 years running, like the guy, played like a man with his head on fire on Saturday, said it on Sunday. And yeah, I mean, he lived up the hype, but then just seeing the production, the development of Roe Hardy and Bones Jones, guys that we're anticipating to be those 2 guys as we, Indiana, we're going to run 4-2-5 for the most part. Obviously, we have, we're very versatile on defense, and we can go with different looks and different personnels, obviously, as most defenses. But those will be the 2 core guys moving forward in that room, and to potentially have them back for another year is going to be huge. But, I mean, Isaiah Jones, you got to chill out a little bit, man. You got too much buzz for my liking. I don't want to, I like a little continuity going into next year. I don't want to have to replace this whole roster with transfers again.
It's so funny.
Not that that's ever been an issue with Signetti, but it's
wait, while we have Angelo here, the Diego Pons merch is incredible. Is that a 1 of 1? Is that going to be for sale? Are we going to be able to get our hands on one of those? That was absolutely incredible. If you guys have not seen the Diego Pons official shirt, check Angelo's Twitter out. That thing is absolutely incredible. Definitely going to need to, if that's not being mass produced right now, we need to fix that. He says, hell yeah. All right. Another guy who was phenomenal over the past weekend was Carter Smith. He got, I forget which award Carter Smith ended up getting, but his PFF grade was ridiculous. He had 38 pass blocking snaps, no pressures, 87 pass block grade. I
saw that. I actually, photographic memory here. 38 pressures, 38 pass block reps, 0 pressures, 87.3 pass grade. Right?
The team released a graphic. I've just been too much going back and forth with these Penn State people, dude.
I need you to drive this boat.
No, dude. All I'm saying is Carter Smith is a man amongst boys, and it is so nice to have that dude on the offensive line. Like, he is as good as any tackle in the country, and Here, the Outland Trophy. That's what it was. Thank you. The Outland Trophy. Shout out to Carter Smith.
Yeah, Smith for Outland is also a new campaign that we need to do. And we knew this coming in, right? And this has been like a long time coming since the Tom Allen days when Carter Smith was first coming on the scene and he was getting a lot of NFL buzz. Like, it was like, man, we got some guys. Like, there's AJ Barner. There's this kid named Carter Smith. He's a freshman. He's going to win the job right off the bat. And so we always knew the talent was right there with Carter, and to see it come to fruition, and having McHale there to go up against him for what has now been 4 straight camps for him in his development has to be crucial for him. Those guys going up one-on-ones, because that's how it goes when you go one-on-ones. We're not sending Daly and White on Carter Smith. He knows how to take care of that. We're sending Kamara on him. That's how.
Dude, Daly and Wyatt are.
Hey, that's not a knock to those boys. It's not a knock.
They're handfuls themselves, my friend. Mm-hmm. Those 2 dudes are awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure they went up in one-on-one matchups as well, because it's good for Wyatt to see a guy like Carter Smith. It's good for Daly to see a guy like Carter Smith, because we're gonna see the Isaiah Worlds at Oregon, and then what do you see? They're able to beat Isaiah World and Harkey on Oregon and get to the quarterback around the edge. So,
yep, big time. Fernando Mendoza, who leads the Big Ten in passing touchdowns, which is an incredible stat. He had an awesome Wall Street Journal article that we didn't get a real chance to highlight, but my neighbor actually cut it out and gave me the article. So I have a physical copy of the Mendoza article, which is pretty cool. No thoughts on that, Brad? Doesn't do anything for you? All right.
That's
what
cool.
about Indiana having it?
I'm glad that you had the hard copy.
Is it ELO rating, Brad, or ELO rating?
Your guess is as good as mine.
But Indiana's got the highest it's ever had in its history of football. Curt Cignetti has brought Indiana to a height it has never seen before. It's official. Indiana's elite, and they're a playoff contender in the eyes of the national public, but it's also in the eyes of the metrics. Their football team grades out as one that is of the elite level in that metric for the first time ever.
It's kind of surprising. I'm shocked to hear that wasn't their highest. They didn't get their highest rating last year, but obviously we expected this team to exceed that, and they've done that. All the things we were saying in the offseason, year 2 jump, going 11-2 in year 1 is insane, and you got to anticipate the year 2 jump, and that's what you're going to see is that jump to the elite level. And glad to see it, because win or lose that game, we would still be sitting here telling you how they're an elite team, an actual playoff participant, and therefore a title contender, right? And yeah, it's glad to just let everyone know, let all naysayers know what's the truth.
I agree.
And it's not just that rating. There's are tons of computer rankings out there. I typically go peep at the Massey Composite. That's MASSEY Composite. And they have all these different computer rankings. And Indiana is ranked number 1 in a majority of those ratings right now. Ranked number 2.
Hey, all we've been saying is they're a damn good football team, and lo and behold, what they put on the field.
Have you gone on the Big Ten show with Mark Rogers yet?
Since we beat Oregon?
Yeah.
No. Funny enough, wasn't invited on this week, Brad.
You would think after a big win, the big honcho would shoot us a little invite to allow us to kind of talk our shit, but I think he's a little Ohio State Mark. No. We could both be on that show this week if we made the right moves. I wanted to shout out the players of the week. Nick Roadcap usually tweets these out. Mendoza was the offensive player of the week. Bones, defensive. Frankie, special teams. And the scout team was Clayton Allen, Finn Walters, and Reese Bellin. Oh, 3 walk-ons. Good for those kids.
Yeah. And then I was going to say Edward Catone is an absolute legend. He released another 9-minute recap video. He is
The first 3 minutes is just clips.
It's just clips of people being wrong about the game. It's like you better come correct to this Indiana football team because there are some assassins in this fan base that you're just not ready for. And we'll get to some of the people in the media who just like I can't even understand how they listen to this themselves say things like that. But man, Edward Catone is phenomenal at everything he does. And the fact that he just releases these things out to the public is one of my favorite things each week. Like I look forward to a bunch of different things after Indiana wins. His edits are definitely one of them. The Don Fisher video is one of them for sure. The collective dunking on receipts is definitely one of them. But yeah, his the Edward Catone game recaps, especially for the bigger games, for sure at the top of the list every week.
100%. That one and the Don Fisher video.
Yep.
Every week. Inject it into my veins.
Every week. Just
like the CBS intro, the CBS intro song for college football. Love that.
I'll do that. We'll do this first. This isn't Indiana football news, but we did get some major sports news this past week. Sister Jean passed away, and obviously Indiana is a huge basketball state. I was able to luckily have what I'll call like a Sister Jean experience where I was in the building for Loyola Chicago beating the Illinois that year. They had IO, and the tournament was played in Indy. Just somebody who had an amazing life and an amazing sports watching career, and just like the late life that her career took on in the public eye. Just a very, very cool story. So that was sad to see, and definitely rest in peace to Sister Jean.
Yeah, a magical run back when we were in college, actually around the time when me and Keyser first met, actually around the same timeline when Loyola Chicago made that magical run all the way to the Final Four. Yeah, RIP Sister Jean, and yeah, a life well lived and worth celebrating, and yeah, a legend in the sport of college basketball.
Yep.
An unlikely legend at that.
Absolutely. We'll get a little silly first, and then I'll just get angry at the media. But I was tweeting pork roll a bunch of times this week, and I'm sure people were pretty confused about that. But I learned that starting last year, Rowan and Montclair State, two New Jersey schools, started playing a rivalry game where the trophy is a pig, and they play for the right to call the breakfast meat Taylor ham or pork roll. I'm from New Jersey. It is pork roll. You can't convince me otherwise. But the fact that there is a football game to decide whether or not or what it's called, it just like speaks to my soul. And so I had my eye on that football game. Obviously, pork roll won for the second year in a row because that makes sense. So shout out to Rowan, and shout out to that trophy. Shout out to pork roll. So that's what I was this week.
What a beautiful, that might be my new favorite trophy game, to be honest. Like that's electric. That's what this sport's all about. That little, what do you call it? That little niche, niche.
I think they're D. I'm pretty sure they're D3 or D2. Definitely not D1.
Yeah, those little eccentric traditions you find around college sports is really, obviously you get into it because you like the stars and things like that. But I think what really drives it home for us college sport fans is those fun little trophy games, right? That's what it's all about.
That's definitely what it's all about. What's not all about? I have this written down, and I just I saw a Kirk Herbstreit clip where he was like, somebody in the chat had told him like he's the biggest Indiana hater, and he was like taken aback, like how could anybody say something like that? Or like somebody who has like all of our accounts blocked tagged the show's account in a Josh Pate clip where he was like, Indiana fans are just like they're feral and whatever he was talking. It's like, do these people just not listen to the things that come out of their mouth for a full year? Like these things happen in public. Like we listen to the words you say over and over again. So it's like to sit there for a year and basically tell Indiana fans to kick rocks and that they're morons and that we're not going to listen to a word you say because we know better. Then to be on your high horse and be like, well, actually, you guys had to prove it to me that you could do this. And then sit there and be like, yeah, I can't imagine why people are upset at the way I acted is brain dead. Brad, it's brain dead. Mm-hmm. It's I could not believe some of the things I was hearing, and it's like you don't have to say nice things about my football team because I want you to, but you also don't sit there and be like, I was saying nice things the whole, like, I didn't act the way I obviously act. There are receipts for these things. Like, there are clips. There are more than a few tweets and words and things that people can point to and be like, no, you actually were treating us a certain way for a year. So tough shit if these guys are a little upset that it's being now thrown back in their face that they were dead wrong about the trajectory of this Indiana football program. I literally don't care. So they can either apologize for getting it wrong and we can move on, or they can dig the hole deeper, which is what a couple of these guys chose to do. And it's like, I don't know. I don't go out of my way to pick fights. I'm not going to like raise the pitchforks and be in these people's mentions and be a nuisance, but I'm just not going to pay attention to the things they say. Like, and they're in positions of power in the media. Like, I just don't understand why you want to alienate a fan base that it literally just came out today that it's the largest living alumni base in the country. Number one, there's more Indiana Hoosiers alumni alive than any other college in the country. And you just continually want to pick fights with this fan base for engagement or for, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I simply could not believe some of the takes coming out today of like, oh, I believed in this team the whole time. I just needed to see them beat Oregon. Like, dude, give me a break.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that take. A few specific ones I want to call out. Josh Pate had Indiana earlier in the week and then eventually changed his pick because he got the case of the brand brain and didn't want to fully buy into his.
Well, his buddy Will Compton was like releasing fake texts and
pretty much on
busting with the boys ecosystem and whatever the hell they were doing. Like
bad. That was the biggest case of brand brain I've ever seen. Kirk Herbstreit. It was funny that the guy did send that chat into their channel exactly at the point when they revealed his top 10 list, and
Indiana was one.
Indiana was one. Like, Kirk was allowed to throw a jab at him at that point. Like,
that's fair. That's fair.
At that moment, though, because
at that moment, very fair.
If you were talking to me, 9 months ago, I wanted Kirk Herbstreit 10 on a spike. like that's what a guy that I once adored in the college football space was tearing down my team for, I don't know, God knows why. I thought he was a Big Ten advocate. It just seemed wrong to me what he was doing. And then one guy I will give some credit to in terms of taking the heat, it's Brandon Walker. He opened the doors. He was like, hey, bring it.
Kadek's appearance was electric. Just the first 5 things he said was coward.
Man. I can handle it. I was wrong. That's a guy that's actually continually, time and time again, when he's wrong, admits it, right? And I think a lot of guys in the media struggle with that. That's the reason why I do somewhat have respect for Brandon fucking Walker. He has some cojones.
Well, dude, I appreciate the fact that I appreciate somebody who can admit when they're wrong and somebody who's okay, like, throwing and taking punches. Like, if you're gonna be in that game and you're gonna say and do some of the things that these people do, like the audacity of some of these people to be taken aback when it gets thrown back in their face is crazy to me. This is we're talking about a public facing world where that is what happens. So to expect anything different is literal insanity. I don't know.
The fact that you can think you could say anything without, someone saying something back, First Amendment, right? Like, it blows my mind whenever someone gets.
But it's the part where it's like, no, they had to prove it to me. Like,
yeah, that's probably the thing that gets.
Who cares what your opinion of their team is? It's like, you're clearly not paying attention, and if you were, you'd have a different opinion.
They proved it to me, and I'm master of the eye test. They proved it to me after the Illinois game. So it's like, boom, we're done. We're slop. We're locked in.
I sent you the Bryson Bonds pick. If you don't follow Bryson Bonds on Twitter, go check him out. He put up like the George Pickens-esque, like, standing and like stalking your TV basically when Indiana beat Oregon. That's a kid who, like, it like hurts me that he's not like able to be around the team and like be there and be a part of this, because that's a kid who's been with this program through some really rough times. But to see him be involved in some way, shape, or form was cool to see.
Yeah, I love him still being involved. I'm hoping and praying he gets some sort of waiver and he's able to come back next year. I think he is a redshirt senior, so it might be a little tough for him. But hopefully somehow, some way, Bonds, special team ace, and solid safety depth can come back to this Hoosier team and produce in some big ways in the future. But glad that
if only we knew an eligibility lawyer, huh?
Yeah, I know a guy.
I know, the best damn lawyer in the land.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, shockingly enough, there was no Ducks versus them video this week.
What? Why not?
Indiana recruiting, though, all jokes aside, it's taking a major turn in the right direction. For as much shit as I do give these major media companies, I will give somebody who we don't give enough credit to a pat on the back. Steve Wiltfong, I think his whip around show, especially now that Indiana is more in the mix for these guys. And honestly, he's been somebody who's been given a lot of what he's been seeing on the recruiting trail credit from the very beginning. I think his whip around show is fantastic. It's a really great listen. The Indiana recruits who were either not at the game, but who were like he talked to after this game were all saying good things, including potential targets in 2027, including Monchon Showtime sales. So his show was a really good listen. I didn't get through the whole thing, but a lot of what the guys in their class were saying, music to our ears. And after some of the things I saw from this past weekend and this week, and listening to the things that were coming out from the recruits, I'm not worried about any of these guys flipping or leaving this class. If anything, and I know Jamie Jordan, IE Reactionary, we had him on the show on Sunday, was saying he thinks we might be done in the class of 2026. I just think they've produced or put so much good tape and good stuff on the field and built so much positive equity that I would be surprised if they don't at least add a couple more guys to this class, including a lot of there's 2, 3, 4 guys who have decommitted, who are reopened their recruitments, who are associated with Penn State that they're on. So
a lot of big time jobs becoming open, which means that big time recruits are going to be open as the season progresses. We've talked about, and at a high level, we've talked about the timeline of building a program. And like, now that we've arrived, we can kind of like talk about like way ahead of schedule. Like we're game 19 in and we've arrived at the national saying, like way ahead of schedule of what you would expect in a typical rebuild. Makes other fan bases question their own rebuilds and what that's supposed to look like. And it's funny to see, but this is the type of win that breaks you through to where you start being able to realistically build classes of those 4 and 5 stars. Strictly, obviously, Cignetti as being that staff and the evaluations that they do, they're going to still go after the 3 stars, the diamonds in the rough, the guys that they want to bring into the program, the glue guys. They're going to get their Roe Hardys. They're going to get their D'Angelo Ponzes. But now they can even add even more with those 4 and 5 star guys consistently and make that a big bulk of their class. With obviously they're still going to evaluate, culture fit, things like that. And it's all going to stay the same, but it's just the in terms of the national media level of recruiting, in terms of what they're going to get, they're in a much better spot to get those guys that are a little more well known. And that's a huge thing moving forward, because it obviously this team is very much capable through the portal to be able to compete at that high level, but now they're going to be able to build from within and not have to supplant so much talent with the portal. And now that can start to begin. And now it's now we're probably going to only have 2 more years of big transfer portal classes.
I would say maybe 1.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just see how these other young guys are progressing, right? Mm-hmm. We're not seeing a whole lot of them this year, not as much as this year, obviously, because our top level, our 1s and our 2s are just so good right now. There's just not a whole lot of opportunity for these younger guys.
Also think about this, like
I'm sure they are developing.
Well, Illinois game, we saw a lot of people play because of the score. And then you travel to Iowa, which is a hostile environment. The game's harder than you thought it was going to be. They really tightened up in terms of who was playing, who they trusted. Then you go into a bye week. Then you go into another hostile environment against a really good team. I'm just not surprised we didn't see everybody this next stretch. Michigan State is not playing the best football. UCLA, who is playing their best football of the season, and now all of a sudden it looks like we get a really fun game to go out to next weekend, Brad. But the rest of this schedule isn't terrifying. Maybe if Penn State gets its shit together and like sees some sort of like UCLA-esque revival, that can be a really challenging game. But like Indiana's going to be favored by probably by double digits for the rest of their games. Yeah. So it's like I would not be surprised to see the rotation open up a little bit, and we see a lot of these guys play, and we see what the depth looks like, and so by the time you maybe have to go play Oregon again, the team looks a little different because they're not going to be the same team they are in like now versus in November, December. So that's exciting too.
What's really exciting about this team is that they do get better as the year goes on. That's one thing. One call out on the Penn State thing, regardless of who's coaching Penn State on the road is always going to be a tough game especially with the roster that they have. I don't know what they're going to do in their coaching search. I think it was a bad move to fire James Franklin.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Weekend.
We're going to talk about that next.
But yeah, you want to just get into it?
Yeah, Penn State fired James Franklin. Signetti's not leaving for Penn State, but let's have the Penn State conversation because I actually really wanted to get your opinion on this. Yeah. You've been talking about look at Nebraska and look what happens when you fire a coach who consistently wins 9 games. To me, this screamed 2 things. 1, it screamed mistake. 2, it screamed Indiana men's basketball coaching search, where you see these massive names early, like Signetti popped up, Marcus Freeman popped up. Like anyone who's got a top 25 team right now that has a quote unquote better position than Penn State right now, like anyone not named Ryan Day has been floated for this Penn State job, right? So like the news hits your phone. Mm-hmm. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I was watching the Chicago Marathon at the time when I saw it. It was funny because I was like literally talking about like that concept with my girl, and I was like talking about the whole thing, and I see it on my phone, and I'm just like, no shit, they really did it. And it's like, because I was talking about how like a win, seeing Indiana win at Oregon could make a team like Penn State make the mistake of firing a guy that brought you to the semifinal the year prior, a play away from the national title game, maybe 5 plays away from a Big Ten title, maybe more. But that's a good Oregon team, right? It's like it's football. It's the big show. Like those things just happen. Like this whole idea of can't win the big one, like to put that on one guy is, I think, just pretty delusional just in terms of how like team sports works. And yeah, I think they're falling into that trap that Nebraska fell into with Bo Pelini. I think that's always the best example of seeing a blue blood kind of take a nosedive because they decide to move on from a coach because they're not winning enough, right? I'll even throw in Lane Kiffin, USC. I'll throw in Sark's kind of a different story at USC, but like Lane Kiffin, USC, very similar, right? Lose on the road to Arizona State randomly, fire him mid-year. Like you don't know how that season. Then go figure, Ed Ogeron's able to, get those boys playing because it's like, yeah, they're USC, they're plenty of talent. Like it's football, right? Like it's
he's
sport.
Looking for a job now too,
like
huh?
These things change, man. Like you see, what UCLA is doing. It just lets you know like the ambiguity of sport and kind of projecting what happened. I always found it to be utter ridiculous. You got to look at a large sample size, and James Franklin's a top 10 coach. I hate to tell anyone, but that's just the facts. And whatever school lands him is getting an absolute steal. The fact that Penn State moved on from him, and it's funny because like if Signetti wasn't unattainable before, Oregon made it impossible. A win at Oregon, like it's like blank. If it wasn't blank check before, it's a blank bigger check now, right? It's like you get 12 mil a year, 15 mil a year. I don't care. 20-year contract. I don't care. You're getting it. You're getting whatever you want within reason. Obviously, don't make the school go blank. You got to save some money for some players, right? Sig, you know what the deal is. Wink, wink, right? You'll do that. Sig knows the deal. And it's like, yeah, whoever gets James Franklin's getting an absolute steal, and he's going to revive that program and probably make Penn State look silly. And then Penn State's going to end up with a guy like not knocking any of these coaches, but it's not going to be like for me, it's like, all right, Matt Rule, he's an alum, so that's like probably realistic call number 1. Matt Campbell's around, John Summerall, he's more of an SEC guy. Like the Golesh guy at USF, he's really good. Obviously Kenny Dillingham, you got to kick on the tires there. But this idea that they're going to fire this guy and upgrade him is for sure upgrade James Franklin is just, it's asinine to think that.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They were literally
pay $50 million to do it, to take a risk like this.
What were they in the college football playoff last year? 2 4? Like,
yeah.
Like last year, not even a calendar year ago, they had a bye.
No, they played Boise State in the first round. But
they didn't have a bye.
Remember
because
all
they didn't win
the 5 through 8 seeds actually all won their games. They all beat the teams with byes last year.
Oh yeah.
It's something to note as we go into the playoff this year. Is that the teams with byes lost all last year. Something to note.
But they were auto bids.
Exactly.
They were auto buys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit different story because it created some weird matchups where like Oregon's getting Ohio State, and then
that was miserable.
Arizona State's getting Texas, right? It just created some interesting dynamics, but risky move for Penn State. We love to cover the Big Ten here. Obviously, being an Indiana show, I think it's important that we do. That's the biggest coaching search I think we'll see in the conference, especially considering what UCLA is doing. If UCLA doesn't continue with Tim Skipper and Jerry Neuheisel, the only thing that would make sense for them is getting James Franklin and keeping Jerry Neuheisel and potentially keeping James and Tim Skipper if they can. I don't know if that's possible, but that would be the ideal situation. So I think that Penn State coaching search is going to be probably the biggest thing to watch in the offseason.
Well, obviously we have a unique experience, right? Our fan base, because we literally just watched a very similar thing happen. Now, Penn State had a lot more recent success than Indiana basketball has, but like you're talking about two brands that think the power of their brand is going to be good enough to attract somebody from another equally big brand. And it's like, I don't know, like I can't ignore the front office sports article that came out that said like there's trustees from the Penn State side that don't trust the athletic director and think he took a bribe to go to Adidas, and that the athletic director is making $500,000 a year in product allotment from this Adidas contract. And half the trustees are like, what the hell is going on here? Like there's legitimate turmoil there. I don't have to sit here and explain to you the dark history of Penn State football. Right? Like you kind of it's the first thing you think about when you think of the school realistically. So this idea
it really is. Like you think of Penn State, like it's like Joe Paterno.
This idea that like in this modern,
and like Joe Paterno is like the second thing you think of.
This idea that in modern college athletics where you can win wherever the bankroll is big enough, and look at what Texas Tech is doing right now is like another huge example of like it's not just Indiana is this fairy tale story of like putting money and like belief and behind the right people. You set yourself up to look like a place that has unrealistic expectations. The next guy that goes in there after James Franklin has to win a national title in the first 2 or 3 years, or they're going to consider him a bust too and get his ass out of there. Like I feel like I'm watching the Indiana basketball fan base look at their, but it's like the start of that, right? It's like they haven't had their Kelvin Sampson yet that sinks the program, but like I don't know, there was a lot of people were calling Franklin Tom Crean, and I'm not sure if that's like an apples to apples comparison, but like look at what happened to Indiana basketball after they fired Crean. Like it wasn't exactly sunshine and rainbows. They didn't go and get a guy that was better than Tom Crean.
They thought they did. Doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, Abel in the chat.
I would like to see, honestly, like, I would love to see Matt Campbell get that opportunity because I think there's a limited. Iowa State isn't doing what Texas Tech and Indiana are doing. Like those are just facts, right? And the fact that he's able to have that success, find guys like Breece Hall, David Montgomery, Brock Purdy, and bring them into his program and find success. There's obviously tons of other players that he's brought in.
Some of these names are laughable. Like I past Signetti and Freeman, and Saban, right? Like Mike Elko. Like why would he? Like people are like, oh, Texas A&M doesn't spend enough. It's like, do we look at the same? Texas A&M, like Eli Drinkowitz. Like Eli Drinkowitz at Missouri was recruiting in the same areas and at a higher level than James Franklin was doing at Penn State. Like why would he leave Missouri for Penn State? If somebody can articulate an argument for me, like again, I'll listen to it. But it's just like I don't look at Penn State and living at State College or whatever as like this major, like I need to go change my life right now and go live at this place. Like in the old days when it was one of those programs, one of like the 12 programs in the country you could win at, yeah, it made a lot of sense that was a job you'd pick up the phone for when they came calling. But when you can win where your own 2 feet are, as long as you have the backing of your administration, why would you who I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see how big the allure of that job is.
Administration and head coach relationship is so underrated, right?
Fran Brown is an interesting name.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like there's so many guys. Like Signet is a great example of that. Like Dolson and Pam Whitten took a chance on him.
Mm-hmm. People are like, yeah, Signetti was this home run.
There's plenty of other relationships like that.
Signetti was sitting at James Madison. Everybody in the country had an opportunity to hire that guy and just chose to ignore what he was doing at IUP, at Elon, and at James Madison. So it's like the fact that everybody now, like on Monday, is like, holy shit, Curt Signetti's the best coach in the country. One, we've been telling you that for 2 years. And two, you guys were literally saying something completely different 2 days ago. Like, would you think everybody, like, and this goes for the Penn State fans too, like, we all just watched what you did to your head coach and the way you treated the players in your program and like how you guys just freaked out at the end of that. Like, that was last week. We all watched that happen. You know what I mean? Like, these things aren't happening behind closed doors. Like, they're happening in public. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, we're talking about it a little long, but I think what would be smart for Penn State to do is not necessarily go after that flashy guy. You're going to hate me for saying this, but find a top coordinator. I'm not going to name our guys, but Tosh Lupoy over at Oregon. I feel like he's due for an opportunity at a big school.
I feel like you need. I mean, again, we're talking about this a lot. We probably don't have the best authority to be like,
take a chance on like a young coordinator, right? It worked out for Oregon with Dan Lanning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Brad,
this UCLA game, I'll transition you from East Coast, quote unquote, to West Coast. This UCLA game, I said before, seems like it's gonna matter a little bit more than we thought it would when we ended up booking the flights, buying the tickets. Does that excite you? How are you kind of feeling as we approach? Are you a little bit more nervous? Like, what is the internal battle of Brad Loomis going into this? I don't want to look too far ahead, but just like as UCLA starts to play better.
Someone asked me this question actually over the weekend. Like, UCLA is looking to be one of the hotter teams in the country right now. And they're saying, how would you feel if UCLA goes into Bloomington and kind of spoils an undefeated season for the Hoosiers, right? And like, would there be a part of you that would feel a little happy? And I shut that down so fast. I was like, no, that'd be like worst case scenario. Like this UCLA team, they already have 4 losses. Let's be realistic. I think bowling is on the table, but this idea that they're going to go to the playoff and win the Big Ten, like it's just not.
I'm not seeing any of that.
I'm not.
If things get crazy,
maybe not
for
a realistic
Big Ten
sense, but like, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're going to have a great offense. Unfortunately for them, we have Brian Haynes and Mario Landino and Isaiah Bones-Jones and Pons and all those guys and Fisher. And it's just different, you know? Like, I know what they did at home against Penn State. Going on the road to Indiana, a little different, right?
Yep, I would full blown.
And that was like, they had, like, not going to knock that Penn State win, but like they did have the advantage of that specific UCLA team had nothing on tape. Nothing. There was nothing for Penn State to go off of. Everything they did was basically the first time they've seen it, right? In terms of that timing of that play and that, like, the way they did things. They had nothing to go off of.
It's a great point, Brad. It's a great point. All right, let's speed run the rest of the smoke because we got to get into the game preview. Indiana has the 4th best national championship odds according to BetMGM, and they have the best quarterback out of those teams according to me.
Say that again. Sorry. Speed. I was locking in for the speed run. I wasn't ready.
Indiana has the 4th best national championship odds via BetMGM, and out of those 4 teams, they have the best quarterback via me.
Saying Ty Simpson and Carson Beck.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to agree. Ty Simpson, I was knocking him all offseason. He's been playing very well.
That looks great.
Very nice 16-1 interception TD interception ratio. Carson Beck, Caleb, cut it out. Cut it out. Yeah, the Jackson Trio opener home run was not great.
Well, actually, hold on. Sidebar. Brad calls me the other day. He goes, "What?" Like out of the blue, basically. He's like, "What am I supposed to be afraid of, Jackson Churio?"
No, I probably said like, "What is a Jackson Churio?" Something like that. But, he's a great young star, great young player. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. Ty Simpson, Carson Beck, and what's his face?
Saying.
Yeah, I would probably rank those like eye test, Mendoza 1, Beck 2, but the most like vulnerable to move. And
Well,
then
that's what I'm saying. I put Mendoza 1 and everybody else is behind him. Like I don't even. It's all irrelevant.
I'm just showing people what I think. And Sayan's just the youngest, so he's 4, and then Ty Simpson. I think there's a way to get to Ty Simpson, like kind of like the Dante Moore type.
There's a way to get to all of those guys, dude. Oh, yeah. I know we just spent a little too long talking about Penn State, but nobody can forget that Carlos Hoosier actually broke the Penn State will be looking at Marcus Freeman news. that was so insanely hilarious that he got banned for an On3 bit, and then On3 ran the Carlos Hoosier bit. We definitely remember. Our media team kicks ass. They're awesome. She Loved My Kicks, Trevor Bowens, all those people involved in the media team. Like those guys are incredible. Every single week they bless us, and I know I see our fan base giving them love, and I just they don't get enough love. Like that entire team is incredible. The homecoming poster.
Or I thought we were speed running.
I thought, well, I was going to give you a chance. Like speed runs, usually, like I say something, you give like a little.
They're great.
You want to shout out the media team?
They're great. I'm sending the love. I'm watching. I'm ingesting the content.
Did you see the homecoming poster?
No, I didn't actually.
It's incredible. Go check it out.
I'll keep it later.
Where
would I go to find the poster, Keezer?
Ah, shit. We retweeted it. Go to our account. Go to at Indiana VOCFB on Twitter, or you could, if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on the Sigs Inside account, it's on there too. But hop on over to YouTube. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. The Hoko poster goes absolutely crazy, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's what we can make the Bison look like." But I don't know. I like all Hoosier the Bisons. And then this isn't Indiana football related, but this is just something as a fan of the media world. It was announced today that the Bill Simmons podcast is going on to be put on Netflix. And like, that's just crazy. It's like somebody who watched this industry basically be born I'm in high school watching Bill Simmons and Jalen Rose talk about like the whatever draft that was, right? And like it's buried on like page 2 or 3 of like ESPN's website, and now they're on Netflix. And like you just see like podcast companies basically. Or
dream, like, maybe one day. Sigs Inside. Netflix.
Well, I didn't get an answer when I was in the chat in the Big Ten show that we didn't get invited on, but I did ask if the Voice of College Football is next. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll get there. We gotta,
and then I know
we stack weeks, stack months, stack years, right?
we were flying the Old Dominion flag pretty heavily.
Tough one over the weekend. Marshall's a good team.
Marshall is a good team, and tough one over the weekend for the boys at ODU. But keep your heads up, and we'll continue to watch.
Playoff dream might be dead, but they're still in contention for the Sun Belt.
Yeah, so big game against James Madison coming up. I don't know when that game is.
Yeah, the Colton Joseph pick 6 early wasn't great for the vibes. It wasn't good. He'd be doing that sometimes. Like Colton Joseph, he's a little, run and gun gunslinger. Just don't know what he's going to bring you with the arm that week, but he's going to bring it with his legs. Yeah. All right. Speed run.
No, that's what I got. That's the smoke.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you want to dive into the chat real quick, or do you want to hit the history?
Let's dive into the chat. I actually need to get up for a second. That's okay.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah. Hold on.
All right. Our Fat Boy said, actually, Abel said, Don't worry, fellas. I've been tooting our horn all over social media. Logically explain to me as of right now why Surratt is not a first-team All-American. I actually can't explain that to you. I would actually echo that sentiment. And I would say my whole thing going into this week or going into last week was basically saying if these guys are who we think they are, then Indiana's going to have a really good shot to go win this football game. And we thought Elijah Surratt was a day one elite, like get open against any type of coverage wide receiver. And you saw all day they tried to single cover him and he was open all day. And you look at his numbers for Big Ten play, Brad read them off. You look at his numbers against Iowa and Illinois, or I guess that is Big Ten play, but you just look at his numbers on the road. Like, look at who they're going to in big situations. Like, he is as good as anybody in the country has been. So, yeah, I would full-blown agree with that. Elijah Surratt, first-team All-American for sure.
He's right on track. Like, him and Jared, it's hard for me to find a better receiver than Surratt and Smith right now. Maybe Jordan Tyson over at Arizona State, but I don't think his production's as up as it was last year. I might have to check. All right. Leaders in yards in the country, which, if you know anything about me, yards is an overrated stat. It's very situational. Like Danny Scudero at San Jose State's leading the country in yards. Do you think Danny Scudero is the best receiver in the country? No, it's probably not.
I can tell you who owns Danny Scudero in fantasy, though.
Really? See, I only do Power 5 or Power 4 schools, so he's not even eligible for my league, which stinks. Because I watched him week 1. I'm like, that's a guy. That's a productive little
waiver ad, Brad. What'd you imagine?
Yeah,
I'm a monster on the waivers.
Mekhi Lemon has been very productive. I mean, the receivers in the Big Ten.
Dude, I did a PFF mock draft yesterday. You know what? I did a PFF mock draft yesterday. You know what Mekhi Lemon's ADP was?
In what? Like
PFF. You know, you can go like Google like PFF NFL mock draft.
They have him first round. He's not. Slots don't go first round.
Mekhi Lemon's ADP was 20.
He doesn't go. Yeah,
he's not going to go. I'm just saying, like, that's crazy.
I have him on my team. He's a true NFL slot, but like,
no, he's great. I just thought that was crazy.
Yeah, true slots don't go like number first round. They just don't.
No, Devonta Smith went first round. He's not a true slot, though.
He's not a true slot. That's a Heisman winner. What are you talking about?
I know. That was disrespectful. I'm sorry, Devonta.
Yeah.
Fat Boy says
not too good this year. No, Marshall's tricky. Thundering Herd. We are Marshall.
He says, unsung hero Jamari Sharp after Sig ripped him a new one.
He played awesome.
He was awesome.
Not unsung. We sing about Jamari Sharp all the time. Track speed 6'2". Love it.
I'm getting clowned for having a newspaper cut it. Last time I heard of someone cutting out an article from a newspaper, there was still public payphones around. Abel, relax.
I have actually a framed Dodgers World Series like newspaper in my room right now. So I'm all for that. I got your back there, Keys.
Hell yeah. Farrell Indiana Jones reposted the stream. Shout out to Farrell Indiana Jones. I love how Farrell has just become adopted by the Indiana fan base. I don't think Josh Pay has any idea what he just did. Any idea.
He's digging himself a hole.
Caleb says Indiana going to finally land its first ever 5-star in the 2027 class. I would say most likely yes.
It looks good for Sales. Sales was not only verbally telling insiders what he was like seeing at Indiana. I mean, he's watching Surratt right now. You gotta love what you're seeing. He's active. He's been active on social media around the Hoosiers, and I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is when Kashmir Hicks committed, the best in Indiana, play in Indiana. He gave the double exclamation points on top. It's a good sign, right? I think he wanted to. A guy like that probably wants to see just like give me a good year too.
Well, he's talking about when he's right? Wilt Fong's talking about him saying that he wants.
That's a guy Indiana needs to prove it to more than a guy like Josh Pate, right?
Yes. And they're saying that he wants to go to a national title contender, and then one of the teams they listed off was LSU. So it's like I know Indiana's in a better spot than LSU. You know what I mean? In terms of being a national title contender. Like Indiana's right up there in that conversation, and that is massive.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do think Fatboy calls this a trap game. Caleb said he didn't think you can call this a trap game. I think this is a trap game, and not necessarily for looking ahead, but for like big game hangover.
I mean,
And like
people
that's
call it letdown spots,
exactly
right? Same thing as a trap game,
yep.
right? They're synonymous.
But we have Kurt Signetti. He's a watchdog for complacency, and he was more paranoid in his presser yesterday than I think I've ever seen him. And now, like, if you were a conspiracy theorist, you would be like, "Oh, it's because he's thinking about other things." It's like, no, that dude's literally fucking locked in. Like, he is so nervous about complacency and like stalking it and like not having that around his football team that I feel like he's more locked in this week than he was last week, which is a crazy statement.
Caleb Boggs is a Braves fan. I'm sorry you guys paid an entire lineup that can't hit long term. That stinks. Always remember 3-1, being down 3-1 down in 2020. That was fun. And then because we came back and won the World Series. That was sick.
Yeah.
And then Byron Baldwin getting redshirted this year? And at this point, it looks to be that way.
It does. It does appear that way.
We'd love to see him in the game. Maybe we're saving him for playoffs because he could still play. You could not play the entire regular season and play the playoffs and still redshirt based on the rules.
That's true, and that's usually like we traditionally during bowl season when they have that week off and you'd have or that month off basically, and you don't have that month off when you're playing in the college football playoff, right? It's more like 2-3 weeks, but that would be time where you could get him up to game speed and as potentially somebody you can use, and it wouldn't be egregious to throw him in there. Now it's like I don't know. I would be a little hesitant to put somebody in and have their first snaps be in the second round of the college football playoff potentially. A little nervous, but
I was joking.
I don't know. We still like
we were told just hurt, and we're just.
I was about to say we were told day to day 6-7 weeks ago. Like we haven't heard anything about it. Like I don't know. That's not somebody I'm not nervous about that kid like redshirting and hitting the portal or anything like that. I just think like Brad's right. Like he's legitimately hurt and shit happens. Like it sucks and it kind of is what it is. And like he's going to be awesome for the 2026 Indiana Hoosiers. So that's something to look forward to. But I don't know.
And yes, we've talked about Surratt plenty.
Yeah. Fat Boy says it's crazy they kept him one-on-one down the stretch, and I completely agree. I can't believe they didn't double him. That was absolutely insane. But they were so worried about Indiana's ability to run the ball that they couldn't double him.
Exactly. It's really pick your poison. They're such a balanced team that's really hard to really hone in on one particular guy, and that was something we were saying all year, all off season, and it's awesome that between your love of the Hoosiers and my eye test, we were able to basically predict this. It's unreal. Are you ready
the thing is, though, the thing that's so frustrating, and we're going to jump into the game preview here in a second, but it's just it wasn't like it's not like me and you are rocket scientists. We were looking at the inputs and the outputs and making a prediction based on the information we were seeing from very far away. Like if you had the opportunity to get a lot closer to this program in terms of distance and access in terms of Brad and I, like the fact that
bring that word back.
It's funny, Fat Boy. I almost posted that clip today. I might post it tomorrow because I have it, but like.
Yeah, you got time.
Not looking at this team and acknowledging the talent and ability and what the coaching staff was doing told me that you were just not paying attention. And that's why I've been so confident in calling these people out is like, it was so obvious this was going to happen. And I'm not saying like that they're going to go on the road and beat Oregon by 10. Like that wasn't obvious. But the fact that this football team was going to be good and play an aesthetically pleasing brand of football and like matter in the grand scheme of things, like that's pretty damn obvious that they were going to be good.
They were a playoff team that got better in the offseason, and people were shocked that they're a contender now. Like, it's insane, right? It's, like you said, not rocket science to kind of figure out what the Hoosiers were doing. You really just had to look at the two deep and kind of see just how loaded they were and how much experience they had in that two deep is crazy. Haven't even seen much of Night and Gandy. They're more those are transfers for the future, which is crazy. Just building on that depth as years go on.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me like somebody was like, "How can Indiana be successful?" or whatever. In modern college football, you can go heavy in the portal to supplant your roster until you can recruit enough cycles to get your guys in there. And it's like early in your tenure, you take more guys in the portal because you can't convince high school kids that's where you go. And then the longer you can stack years, that makes it easier to convince a high school kid that this is the place for you to go. And you don't have to go and bring in people from the outside who are going to be easier to sell on your vision.
I will say, like, as much as I'm tooting my own horn, it's still way ahead of schedule of what I ever thought was even possible. I don't think it's even reasonable to expect your own school to have a rebuild like this. I think this is a one in a billion, like quite literally.
This is the only time a rebuild like this has ever happened,
rebuild,
Brad.
Right? Like, it's the first time a rebuild like this has ever happened, right? Yeah. So, and it's funny because it's like, not even just like the 11 wins in year one. It's like it happened at the school with the most losses in college football history. Crazy. I don't think we'll ever see anything like a rebuild like that again. Just like how I say, I don't think we'll see a Saban dynasty like that again. But would love to be wrong in the right ways, if you know what I mean.
I pick up what you're putting down, Brad.
Oh yeah.